How much better prepared is Donald Trump and his team this time round?
If you go back, not to defend the first term, but everything we got done in that first 6 months or 8 months, they said it was chaos. The deregulation, the tax cut, the reorientation of the Army and the military. 18 and 19, those great years where the economy was on a roll and Trump had delivered peace and prosperity, right? No wars, didn't start any wars, no real fighting anywhere on the planet, and we had prosperity. We had over 3% real growth, low inflation, low interest rates. If you see the debacle, and this is just the neoliberal, neocon mentality of, it's just not Biden and radical Democrats. Wall Street's been in back of this. The apartheid state of Silicon Valley with the oligarchs were in back of this. They drove this, and now President Trump's coming back and much more prepared. But the situation we have now is 5 times more dire than we took over from President Obama. This right now we have, the beginning of the kinetic part of the Third World War on the Eurasian landmass, okay? We have a massive financial crisis here with $36 trillion in debt, and people in your audience understand we're adding $1 trillion in debt every 100 days. He's got to deal with that. Plus, we have to deport 11 million to 12 million illegal alien invaders. So just the work at the back is at a scale, and that's why even being prepared, people have to understand it's not going to be chaotic because it's thought through. But the resistance of the Democrats and the radicals in our country and the globalists are going to be as intense as anything you've ever seen.
Well, Donald Trump says it's all going to start tomorrow. In many ways, it started already, the change in the world order with the breakthrough in the Middle East. Tell us about the big names that he's appointing to his cabinet. The heads gets, of course, Bondi, Rubio, Musk. Who are going to be the stars? Who are going to create problems? I
think if you see the cabinet confirmation process last week, even more important than the ceasefire in the Middle East was Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, and Scott Bessent, particularly for an Australian audience. Marco Rubio ran through and literally said, we are seeing the end of the post-World War II liberal rules-based order. It's collapsed. It's been gamed. And the globalization doesn't work anymore. The only pushback he got, he didn't get pushback from Democrats because they really are so back on their hind foot. It was really Republicans, some of the establishment Republicans. Pete Hegseth talked about an infusion of the warrior ethos into our military, that we're going to look to win wars, win them quickly, not be dragged out forever. But Scott Bessent really had the most powerful, which talked about the centrality of the United States in the world economy and the bond market. Every nation on earth right now has got a problem with too much spending, got a problem with how you finance that spending. So you're going to see a coordinated effort, and I think the 3 big power players coming out will be Hegseth at defense, who will get confirmed, Rubio at state, and Scott Bessent at Treasury.
Finally, the Democrats, the liberal left, they seem to have learned nothing. There's no self-examination about their policies or their personnel. It's all still about how Donald Trump's going to just destroy the joint. They don't show any signs of learning. Is it already now likely that as long as Donald Trump has a decent second term, J.D. Vance will get the nomination and win in 4 years' time?
Well, I don't know about the future on that type of politics, but I can tell you right now, let's talk about the Democrats. What is shocking, I think, to people, because the Senate is supposed to be where their intellectual center of gravity is. Last week's confirmation hearings were humiliating for the Democrats. They had no real pushback on major areas of global finance, of the end of the rules-based order, of American first foreign policy and national security policy, of which Australia is one of our great allies, right? Particularly in the hot zone of East Asia, the Indo-Pacific theater, and the naval and military assets in Australia as a trading partner. No pushback at all from the Democrats. They are bankrupt of ideas, and here's why. For so many years, they rested on Wall Street and the media to carry them, and the apartheid state of Silicon Valley. People are running around about these oligarchs. Remember, up until a couple of weeks ago, all the oligarchs were progressive Democrats. They've tomorrow at the ceremony, they're making a big deal about Elon Musk being there and Zuckerberg. Trump's. That's a surrender ceremony. It's like being on the battleship Missouri in Tokyo Harbor in September of 1945, yep. And they're the Imperial Japanese High Command, and Donald Trump's MacArthur, right? And they're signing a surrender document. They are kowtowing to Trump. They're coming up and saying, can you take $1 million check? Can you take a $20 million check? They were progressive Democrats. What it shows you is that we broke We broke the globalists in this country. Now, they're still very strong. They're still embedded in the administrative and deep state. That's what's going to make this so intense. But in this massive victory we had on November 5th, particularly bringing in African-American and Hispanic working-class families, is changing the direction of our country. It's a realignment almost like 1932. We're not there yet, but we're going to get there.
Any official role for you in the administration at all?
No. If you look at all the players from the first administration, Jared Kushner, Ivanka, Kellyanne, myself, Dave Bossie, Corey Lewandowski, Jason Miller, Boris Epstein, all of us are on the outside. And here's the reason. President Trump's got a really good team for a White House staff. They're relatively young, right, but it's a good, tight team. He's got great cabinet secretaries. He's going to rely a lot on the cabinet. He needs, what we found out from the first term, you need people that you trust and are hammers on the outside that can push the agenda and push the narrative. And what he's got is some of his toughest warriors. The most combat hardened are on the outside, but we're all ready to go. We're ready to go, particularly for tomorrow. I would tell your audience, you're about to see in 2025 a year in American politics and international politics, global politics, that has never been seen in modern times. So just stand by, strap in.
Steve Bannon, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you. Love Sky, and we love the guys in Australia. We love you guys.